I was, I was saying.
All right, Mum.
Right. There we are. I was saying as soon as you're out of that protected area, you're a hero. I mean, the kids waiting
Come in.
outside the studio. Come in.
We're not doing anything important.
Just an interview.
I thought you'd never stop blowing that horn.
Another glass of milk.
Oh, that's what, you forgot your car keys.
Another glass of milk. Okay, now, what I wanted to say, as soon as you're outside of the protected area...
Yeah, I got the question.
You're a hero. You're a hero if you want to be or not, right?
Well, there's only a couple of places that sort of gets to be superficially a problem, and that's sort of Los Angeles and not so much New York, and London is quite difficult to sort of move around, and during the daytime.
Well, that power that gives you, is that frightening to you?
I don't know. As I say, I haven't been in that environment for about a year and a half, 2 years. So it doesn't affect me. I live in a very different way. I mean, I move this year. I've moved on from Japan through Hong Kong, Thailand, back to Germany, up to Switzerland.
You live in one specific place?
No, I have nowhere.
Right. Okay. Anything special to say about the number of heroes for the rest? I mean, is it a hero for a day?
It's a very pretty love song.
Okay. That's interview number 1.
Stop het nu gezet of wel?
Ja, overzichtelijker, hè?
You said Heroes is a pretty love song.
Yeah.
It says, we could be a hero for one day.
Yes.
We could be heroes for one.
Yeah.
Do you want people to feel like that just for one day? You said you don't feel yourself a hero.
No, no.
People make you a hero.
No, they don't.
For them.
No, they don't. They don't make me a hero. I know I'm not a hero.
What is the power of still going on?
It isn't.
Doing it. Doing...
No.
Making records, selling.
Yeah. That's work.
Just work.
Yeah. Work and a way of life for me.
In an interview a long time ago, you said, I could be a Hitler in England. I could make this country very big if I want to.
I don't think I said I would make this country very big.
Let me see what you said. You said, I could have been a hero. I could make this country a great country.
I don't know where you read that, but that's not true.
Rolling Stone interview.
No, but that's not true.
It's a translation.
I have the feeling that, I mean, we get all the press information about you, that's all we know when we start, right? I have the feeling you changed. You're just a hard-working, there's not much more of the image building around.
No, at the moment, none at all. No, I'm...
So we're talking to David Bowie instead of talking to the people, the roles you
characters,
play.
yeah.
Right.
Well, when I had the characters... Oh, can I take this off?
Oh, sure.
Oh, no, I have to lose that then. Doesn't matter.
After the first row.
I'll just take off one half. Right. I was a character when I performed the other albums.
Right.
Aladdin Sane, Ziggy Stardust, stuff like that. And I carried the character through into interviews, into newspapers, on stage, off stage. Whenever there was media around, I had to keep those characters concrete because it was important, because the fabric of my work is using my body, my personality, as well as my songs and stage performance. The idea was to, rather like a canvas. But now I've finished with those particular situations, the hardware of science fiction in the beginning, the rockets and the moon and the aliens and whatever. And then there was the period where I was relating to technology upon society, as in the Diamond Dogs, through to just before the Station to Station period, ending up with a Plastic Soul character for young Americans. Then the Station to Station was a plea to get back to Europe. I mean, I had it in America, I was going crazy. So I came back to Europe and decided that I needed to discover for myself a new form of musical language before I continued writing anymore. So the last two albums, Low and Heroes, aren't so much situations, but a process of discovery, searching for a new language, artistic language, so that I can go further.
Right.
And that's what Eno and myself and Fripp have been up to, really.
Okay. That's the end of the roll. You can take off your...
I can take it off completely now, can I? En masse? No. It's impossible to care en masse. But the contact I have with a few that get to see me is very good. And I take them as people, as individuals.
I remember the one lyric, all the nobody people, all the somebody people.
Yes.
I need them.
Yes. Yes. Well, that character definitely did, because the world was exploding.
So that was the character, that wasn't...
That was definitely a character. That was Ziggy Stardust.
Right.
And he was the archetype, needing people, rock star.
Right. Now, to come back to that, the new album, the music to me sounds really a little bit, I hope that's the right English word, alienated. So I'm very surprised...
Alienated from what?
From oh, okay, from my world.
From your world?
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Can you understand that, or is that...
Yes, I can, because it's new language. Would you like to know the process of writing?
Yeah.
That may help,
Right. Yeah,
help
sure.
understand. Side 2 especially. Side 1 was a slightly different form of writing. But Brian and I would, that's Brian Eno, would attempt to write in as many different processes and fashions as we could. Each, the aim to be to discover this so-called language, artistic language. And one of the processes that we used was that Brian would think of a statement that he wanted to make musically, and I would think of a statement that I wanted to make musically, and neither of us would tell each other what our respective statements were. And we would come up with one foundational musical theme. That would be the foundation, and maybe a chord sequence, or a number of bars that would be in one key, and a number of bars in another key, and that was our only foundation. Then we both go away and write about our individual statements, come back and both put down our recordings of what we were doing, and then listen back to it. And it was phenomenal that we got a third piece of information out of it. A piece of information that neither Brian and I knew was going to happen.
No.
So the album for us, all the time, when we finish it, it's a surprise. Sometimes very pleasant, sometimes
You
a
put
little...
them together and that's it? Yeah, there's no...
Oh, and then we'll work on those particular pieces of information, those two will... But we very rarely tell each other what we're doing.
How long do you think you can go on writing in this way?
Well, that's just one way.
Yes.
I mean, that was one, that's what I mean. The process has changed on just about every track. That's why it's such a great variety of musical information on the album. Because the process was rarely the same for any two tracks.
Isn't it surprising that in these days of young kids buying or being into punk and new wave and all that stuff, that they buy your album and this kind of music in these amounts?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's... you're
What can I say?
No, you're surprised too. I mean,
I'm delighted. But I'm very presumptuous because I'm also very biased. I consider that what we're doing is also part of a new wave or a new old wave.
You think the sale of the album, for instance, has still a lot to do with the hype around you?
I've not seen any hype.
No?
No. If it comes from you guys. I'm very happy. Thanks very much.
Right. Does punk appeal to you?
I haven't heard punk. I've seen a lot of punk. I've not heard the rock yet. I see a category. I see there's the abstract art of the mid-60s. Yes, what is it? It's better. He's in the other room. The conceptual art of the 60s that was something very akin to punk rock as a movement, I think, in as much that it wasn't experienced, it was theorized about. And I find that at the moment with punk, I think that a category has been created by the media, as always, and it's still a vacuum. There's nothing filling it yet, apart from 2 or 3 bands, maybe. As far as the band's concerned, the ones that I've seen, I think there's an awful lot of enthusiasm among them, which I think is terrific. But they're still sort of adopting a pose and trying to think of something dangerous to say, but they haven't actually got anything yet. Somebody will, I suppose.
Do you discover any talent already?
Devo. Devo, are you a man? Yeah, Devo. Devo, an American band.
Never heard of.
No, you won't have. They haven't been recorded yet. They're extraordinary.
Are you going to work with?
Yes, I'm going to produce them. I'm very excited about it.
Now we get to Iggy Pop. Some people say it's pre-punk, or it has a new wave feeling already in the beginning of the 70s when he was with the Stooges.
I've got to surprise you. Come on, Jim, come out. No. Yeah, go on.
He's giving himself completely when he's performing.
Yes, yes, he's
Scratching, doing everything.
very physically extravagant in his performance.
Do you think that's good for an artist? Could you do it yourself, for instance?
It's not my place to have an opinion on that, on what Jim does. I admire Jim very much. I've always liked what he did. And I wanted to be involved because I didn't think that people took him, firstly, seriously enough, or didn't take him at all, and which I've always had a penchant for the so-called musical underdog. And the hardest part about working with Jim was getting other people in the music industry to take what he was doing seriously. I mean, that was really hard. And now, of course, it's happening. But it's not my place to judge his performance, because it's his performance and his music that attracted me to in the first place.
If you got a name that big as David Bowie, isn't it very easy to be a very big push on somebody's
I think that's
product?
a pretty naive sort of attitude, don't you think? If it wasn't good, it wouldn't sell. I mean, if Jimmy was no good on stage, people wouldn't go and they wouldn't get excited. If they did go, they wouldn't go again. They've been and they're going again, because he is very exciting on stage. And musically, I mean, as it is with all product like that that's marketed through the media, if the first one sells, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything else is going to sell. But they buy Jimmy's records because his music is bloody good.
Do you think you're powerful?
You're power crazy, aren't you?
I am. That's what people write about you.
Well, Lord, no. No, I don't see what I do in terms of power. I think I'm a fairly good social observer, and I think that I encapsulate areas maybe every year or so. I try and stamp that down somewhere, what that year is all about, rather than what it was all about or what it's going to be. It's very much, you know, trying to capture the quintessence of that year. And so it's an active performance all the way through the year, because one's dealing with 365 days. So I may seem very active. Indeed, I am.
Yeah, I can see that. You were talking about a trilogy of records.
Yes, yes.
Is there still one to come in the series?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you working on it already?
Yes. Also, I'm going to America in a few weeks, and I'm working on Robert Fripp's album. He's asked me to do some work with him in New York.
Yeah, I think we stop this as well, right? Okay, I want to talk a little bit about show business in general.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, right. Tell us about it.
No, you tell me.
Have you had the feeling that you have been lived in the last few years? I mean, being lived by other people, by record companies, by managers, by...
That's an extraordinary question. Yes, it's very appropriate at the moment. Dare I say anything about that?
Sure.
About the chap in...
Yes.
Can I?
But wait to say that, because we have gone... He's going to say something that we want, and then you can cut it out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. Yeah, I am sort of lived over there a bit in that. You know, there's some crazies over there that...
No, but in the whole career...
I know what you mean. Am I being soaked? No. From the last 2 years, I mean, I've sorted my own life out very much. Mm-hmm. And I'm not involved in show business at all, in any way, shape or form. Right. The life that I lead is incredibly conservative, adventurous, because I travel an awful lot. I don't live anywhere. I don't have any houses anywhere, never have. never will have, as
So
far as
the
I can
image
see.
you have has got almost nothing to do with your real life, right? I mean, the image you have for the magazines and...
It depends which image you're talking about.
all
I've
the-
seen
all the
so many,
images.
because of course there will be so many. It's like looking at an actor's films and taking clippings from the films and saying, here he is.
Right.
You know, and it's...
Well, that's where you're different from most rock stars.
Yeah, well, I'm not a rock star, you see. You've just said it. I'm not in rock and roll.
Good, that's nice.
I'm very definitely thirsty.